This video is about how to make a floor puff with a zero budget plan. The first part is to make an inner core or a filling for the puff. For that, I cut out a piece of fabric from an old duvet cover. It is the best option to use the messed up materials, which is really a liability in a household like I have. The size I'm mentioning here is to make a standard floor puff. You can alter the plan I'm showing here by cutting down or increasing the size. Depends on the actual size of the thing you want. Here I am bringing both ends of the shorter sides together and sewing it. Once we close the short sides together, there is only two openings on both sides. Now I'm going to use hand sewing technique to close one end. This is the same technique we're using to make a round cushion. Remember to use a strong thread. Don't use just a regular thread because it will snap very quickly. Here I will be using a running stitch method. Pull the thread tight and secure it. You can tie it over a couple of times or more. Now what's left is just one opening. Just place it like I'm showing here. Now it's time to use those old unused and messed up materials like old dress, kids dress and soft toys, things like that. You need to play with it a little while to get it into the shape of a real floor puff. I'm using a bit of cushion fiber on top of it, so while you're sitting on it, it will give a softness, and at the same time it is stiff because of the other materials we filled in with. Here I'm closing it using the same running stitch method we have done on the other side, and remember to use a strong thread. Now we can play with it a while to bring it into a proper shape. Moving on to the second part, here we need a large sized fabric, and here I cut out a fitted sheet into a flat piece. Spread the fabric into a clean surface, and you can use a sticky tape on sides so it will not slip around while we are marking the grid. There is a link in the description so you can download the pattern, or you go to Pinterest, you can get so many smoking designs for free. You need to have a long scale and a fabric pen for marking, and you should mark it on the inner side of the material because while we are sewing it, the design is forming on the other side of the material. Moving on to the third part of the project, and it is sewing the design. Use a good quality thread of the similar color. Here I am using a white color thread because you can see that clearly in the video and follow the directions. All what you need to do is go to the square shapes with the diagonal lines inside. Just start sewing from one side of the diagonal line. Then go to the other end of the line. And pull the thread tight so the thread itself is forming a line. Then pull it tight and secure that point by sewing over a couple of times or more. Once you complete it, you can cut the thread or use the same thread and move on to the next diagonal line. Always consider sewing the nearest lines so you can make sure you will not miss any of the lines to be sewed together. Here I am not cutting the thread because it's quite easy to go along with the same thread. You can do either way. So that's all we need to do. Just consider sewing the diagonal lines. And on the other side you can see the design start forming. And if you watch the following part, you can see how I am sewing by cutting the thread at each point. It took me more than 3 hours just to finish the design itself, and I have done it by playing my favorite playlist on YouTube. You can do it as a spare time project. So it's very important to stay inspired and do it only if you love it. Here you can see the final result of the design. Then I'm going to compare the size to see whether it's large enough to cover the inner part. I cut off the extra parts after I make sure it covers well. As you can see, the designed fabric has two long sides and two short sides. So one of the long side is going to be a piping seam. So it will help us to remove the cover and wash it. Once you complete sewing the piping seam, you need to close the two shorter sides together. And I'm using a ribbon as a cord and inserting it into the piping seam. Now it's time to finish it by closing the end. Remember to use a really strong thread. The design itself is forming the pleats, so arrange it and bring it to the center part and sew it. So let's have a look at the final product, and as an addition I'm sewing on a diamond tufting button. It took me 3 days, that's an approximate 5 hours to finish it, 5.5 hours to finish it, but the final product really amazed me. So when you have time, try it and see you next time. Bye bye.